Well, hello, Wednesday at 11 a.m. Here we are again, another Ag Chat brought to you by the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. I'm Chris Boleman, the Chief Mission Officer here at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And again, another great lineup for today. We're so thankful that you are with us. We hope that you continue to follow social distancing as our experts tell us to do and our authorities. So make sure that we continue to wash our hands, we keep the appropriate spacing. Luckily, Texas is starting to open up a little bit as we move towards May 1st. But again, this is always our reminder to make sure we're following the guidelines. And certainly we hope everybody is safe and healthy out there. And if you're like me in Houston today, a big storm came through last night. We got some rain, and now it's starting to clear off. A little cooler today here in Houston. And so wherever you are, I hope the weather's nice and you're having a good day. Man, tell us where you're from. As always, you guys know the drill that have been with us before. Tell us where you're from in the text chat. We got a really cool topic today, and we want, obviously, this to be an interactive experience. You know how these are going. If you're new, welcome. Again, tell us where you're from there in the chat, and that's a place where you can drop your questions as we go through here. Also, we're starting to see some watch parties start. So, hey, man, start a watch party. Invite your friends right now. Do it now. As we continue through here. So again, welcome. We have been, as you know, promoting agriculture and Western heritage every week at 11 a.m. right here on our Ag Chat. We've talked about gardening and cooking and ag advocacy. Last week, we had a great conversation on Western heritage and bullfighting, and it was so awesome. Today, we're going to emphasize a little bit about HLSR's commitment to education. And then also talk a little bit about ag in the city. And we are definitely so pleased to have Ryan Levy with us today. Here comes Ryan. Wave at the crowd, Ryan. We're so glad.
Hey, everybody. Good morning.
He is out on site. We'll talk about this site here in just a second. But in doing so, let me start by talking a little bit about the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo's commitment. This year, we will surpass $500 million to the youth of Texas. That's something we've been promoting, and we know our show ran a little short, but that doesn't stop our commitment, which I think is great. And as a part of that, we are so pleased that Ryan Levy is joining us because he is a scholar all the way back in 1993. And you can see that picture. It's a nice haircut. Ryan is looking good. 1993. He's there. He's pictured with Mr. Don Jordan, who's an executive committee member, great guy to work with. Hey, what year was that, Ryan?
Yeah, so it was 1993 was the year that I won my scholarship from the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeos that enabled me to go to my dream college, Rice University.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about how the scholarship process worked for you. How did that happen?
Yeah, so anybody can apply, and any high school senior in the greater Houston area can apply for what's called the Metropolitan Scholarship, which is the one that I won. I filled out the application and sent it in. And the idea of the Metropolitan Scholarship is it awards one graduating senior from every high school in the greater Houston area, ideally the top all-around graduating senior from that high school, with an amazing college scholarship. And I could not have attended Rice University if it were not for the generosity of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo.
That is awesome. And tell me again, where did you go to high school?
I went to Dulles High School in Sugar Land.
Oh, cool. So you're from the Sugar Land area. And just to connect the dots, we have some folks on from Sugar Land already, folks from Cleveland. Charlotte is with us from Bryan. We've got some folks over in Franklin, Tennessee. And so we have a lot of our wine folks on. A lot of our volunteers on different wine committees are on too. So it's Fredericksburg, Texas is on. They have a little bit of wine business these days, don't they? Well, tell us a little bit about Rice University. What did you major in there? And what was your career like back then?
Yeah, so I started as a biochemistry major. I ended up graduating with a degree in political science and economics. Went to law school after that, and then full circle, ended up back at UC Davis studying agriculture and winemaking and chemistry once again, and became a winemaker about 14 years ago.
How cool is that? Now, I've spent a little time at UC Davis in my life. I did a little work with them. Beautiful campus, right? It's a great place.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have the chance to live in that part of California, you're lucky.
Yeah, yeah, really cool. So you majored in political science, right? So help
Well,
connect
well,
the
I started as a biochemistry major. I actually, made it through a year and a half as a biochemistry major until about halfway through organic chemistry. I said, this isn't for me. And so what's funny is that my whole career has come full circle. And now, I'm in the vineyard. I'm working with chemistry back at the winery, and doing what I love, which is wine and food and sustainable agriculture.
And so tell us how that transition took place. Was this just always something you were interested in, and you just had to connect it from biochemistry to connect the dots of how to utilize that in your world?
When I was a kid, I loved cooking, and that was one of my favorite things, but I never thought that would be a career. In fact, when I was growing up, we joked that in my household, my parents said there were two acceptable careers. You could either be a doctor or a lawyer, and that was about it. And so, so after organic chemistry, I said, well, I guess I'm not going to be a doctor. I guess I'm going to be a lawyer. But I always loved cooking. In fact, when I was a young kid, I'd go destroy my mom's kitchen, just cooking up new things. And so when I had the chance, after I had been practicing law, I opened a restaurant. And after I opened the restaurant, eventually sold it, moved out to California, and enrolled to become a sommelier. And studied under Master Sommelier David Glancy. I ended up getting my certificate as a certified sommelier, and ended up studying to be a certified specialist of wine, and then went back to school at UC Davis to get my winemaking certificate. So,
so talk about the sommelier. What does that entail?
Yeah, so the Court of Master Sommeliers is an international organization that credentials wine specialists and beverage specialists. And one of the most daunting parts that you see on TV and some of the shows like Somm is the blind tasting, right? Where you're presented with a glass of white or a glass of red, and you have to use deductive analysis to know what grape it is and what region it's from, and how the wine was made. And so you learn how to do that, which is really fun and mystifying to novices.
That's awesome. Okay, so before we talk about where you are today, I want to ask you one more question. Because again, we have a lot of different folks on, including a lot of scholars or folks that are getting ready to go to college. What advice would you have for them as they're getting ready in this year, especially where they're at home? There's not going to be maybe a formal graduation. They're getting ready to go to college. From a guy that went to Rice University and UC Davis and had biochemistry and political science and a restaurant and practiced law. Give us a little bit of advice.
I think the thing that the Rodeo Scholarship has taught me more than anything else is that anything is possible if you dream it. I did not know how I was going to pay for college, but that did not deter me from my dream of attending Rice. And so, through the generosity of thousands of volunteers who I've never met, who give back every single day of the show, even year round on committees, all of those people believed in my dream, and I didn't even know that they existed. And for
Uh-oh, we're locking up just a minute. Let's see if we can get Ryan back online. We haven't had any problems. Let's wait and see if Ryan comes back. While we're doing that, as we're checking to see if we can get Ryan back, let me say this too. There you are, Ryan.
I lost y'all for a second there. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. And so what I heard you say is chase your dream, and there's about 35,000 people that are there pushing you, right? In terms.
That's right. That's right. And the neatest thing is to get to meet some of those volunteers and how their faces light up when they meet a scholarship recipient. They just love to see the fruit of all of their labor. Which is great.
And what a good segue, speaking of fruits. But before I do that, let me say this, because I wanted to promote this. The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo does have a alumni association. And as a part of that alumni association, you can upload your story at mystory.rodeohouston.com. There's thousands of stories that like Ryan is telling, and we want to hear about them. So just a quick shout out to make sure we know that's going on. Thanks to our ed programs folks that work with all of our alumni to do that. So let's switch gears. Let's talk about urban agriculture for a few minutes. Where are you today?
Yeah, I'm standing in the middle of a brand new vineyard. So Nice Winery, my winery, we planted a vineyard 3 weeks ago, right in the middle of the city of Houston. Now, city planners have told me we are the first commercially producing vineyard and winery, estate vineyard in the city limits, which is kind of crazy. But we did it anyway, and we planted a grape called Blanc du Bois right over here on the west side of town. We are just north of City Center, just inside of Beltway 8, between Gessner and Beltway 8, north of I-10. So you're looking at the big rice silos behind me on Westview, and we're at the intersection of Westview and Lumpkin.
So how about that? I mean, I think that's great for the audience to see. A couple of weeks ago, we talked with a young man that lived on a farm in the Panhandle, Caden Carver, and telling us his ag story. And so a lot of people think that you have to be from rural America to work in agriculture. But here you are, and I think we have a map. We probably already showed it, of exactly where you are inside Houston. How did you decide to pick that location? What went into that?
Yeah, our existing winery right now is just about a mile from here. So we've been, for the past 8 years or so, our winery has been on Beltway 8 between Kempwood and Hammerley, just a mile from here. And we've been looking for 3 years for a site that would be large enough for us to plant an urban vineyard. And we came across this site. We did soil samples. We did testing. The soil was good. It just needed a little help. We brought in some compost and manure, a few 18-wheelers full to change the soil, and we dug down to see what was underneath, and it looked good, and made a plan to plant. And so this plan is over 3 years old, and finally we got to get those plants in the ground.
That's awesome. And so, by the way, folks, if you have questions for Ryan, don't forget to type them in our chat. I will tell you, Ryan, we've got folks from Groveton, Texas. We got folks from Spain, Yoakum, Texas. A lot of folks from Houston today. Here's some from Pennsylvania. Hey, you have folks you have some Rice Owl alumni joining you today that are proud of you as well. So how about that? So talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, maybe go into a bit more detail. You just talked about what you had to do to the land, but how was that spot located for you? It's a mile from where you are. Was there a lot of work that you had to do? And I'm thinking specifically as bringing an ag industry into the city, so to speak. Did that take a lot of work working with different folks?
It did, for sure. I mean, fortunately we stand on some tall shoulders. So we have a good friend who has a great vineyard up in Cyprus, Ken Wenchy, and Ken and his wife Marilyn have been farming Blanc du Bois grapes for over a decade now, and so he helped us with site selection. There's a good Texas viticulturalist, Fritz Westover, who helped us as well, a good friend and vineyard consultant. And so when we found the property, we had to run a lot of tests. But the most important thing really is suiting the right grape for this climate. So people always ask, Ryan, what grape are you growing over there? Why aren't you growing a grape that people know, like Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot or Chardonnay? And the simple fact is those grapevines just don't grow well in this part of Texas, and they don't grow well in this soil. So we chose a grape that grows really well here called Blanc du Bois. And Blanc du Bois might as well be called the state grape of Texas. It's the most widely planted white grape varietal for winemaking in Texas. And it grows really well here in the Gulf Coast. So we not only chose the grape, we also chose the rootstock. So something that I want to talk to people about is most of the grapevines in the United States, almost all of them, they are not planted on their own roots. They are grafted onto the rootstock of a plant that grows well in this soil. So we chose a rootstock called 1103P, which is not the sexiest name for a plant, but it's a good rootstock. And then we grafted on top of it the Blanc du Bois. So I'm going to show you that real quick so you can see.
Yeah. And while you're showing us, let me point out too that Nice Winery is on Facebook with us too. And so I want to shout out to all the fans on your winery page too, Ryan.
So excellent, thank you. So down here you see a little knot here. That's where the graft took place. That graft took place a year ago, and all of this new growth is the Blanc du Bois plant. Now, all of this that you see here happened in the last 3 weeks. All these shoots and the tendrils, and look up at the top, you can see that we've got a lot of good growth here. we even on some of these have a little bit of flowering right here. If you can see this little flowering on here. So we've got a lot of growth in a very short period of time. And we have about 250 of these vines out here right in the middle of the city. So luckily we got some rain. Mother Nature helped us out, so we don't have to irrigate this week. And hopefully all that water will soak down, because what we want is for the roots to reach deep into the ground and really form some good stabilization, some good foundation for this plant.
Cool. A couple of questions that are coming up. A lot of folks want to see the close-up, so they're loving seeing the close-up vine. So tell us a little bit about this grape and some of the tasting characteristics of it.
Sure. So Blanc du Bois, really it's a hybrid grape between a Native American varietal and a Vitis vinifera varietal, which is the type that we commonly think of from France. And like any wine, Blanc can be dry, like the kind of Blanc du Bois that we make. It's bone dry, or it can be made sweet. And there are a lot of people making a sweet Blanc du Bois. It all depends on how you make the wine. So ours is very similar to a Sauvignon Blanc. It's crisp, it's dry, it's got notes of lemon and lime and apricot and white peach. And it's really refreshing with Gulf Texas seafood like redfish and snapper and Gulf shrimp and Gulf oysters. They all go really well with Blanc du Bois.
A little aquaculture there with our agriculture right there. I love that.
Well, keep it local, right? I mean, you always love to eat and drink the wine and food that's from a particular region. And Gulf Coast seafood goes really well with Texas Blanc du Bois.
Good deal. So another question that came up, if this is a good environment for this grape, what about like a cab? Why is it not so good here? What are some differences? Just out of one of the questions.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that we don't have in Texas is what's called a diurnal shift. So the thing that makes Vitis vinifera, which is the grapevine that is the grapevine family of Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot or Malbec or Petit Verdot, the thing that makes them successful is a diurnal shift. They need hot days and cold nights. And the difference in temperature between the hottest time in the day and the coldest time in the night is the diurnal shift. And we need a big diurnal shift for those grapevines. We don't have that here in Houston. In fact, during our growing season, we have hot nights and hotter days. So I joke that we have two seasons in Houston. We have summer and not summer. We don't have the other seasons. So Blanc du Bois is very hardy and can put up with that and live through it and still give us a really nice crop, which we're very blessed and fortunate to be able to have here in a place that people don't think of as a wine growing area. Everybody's like, wait, you grow grapes in Texas and it's not in Fredericksburg or it's not in the High Plains? I say, yeah, right here in Houston. And they're just in disbelief about it.
Well, and that's when we heard that, and we got to have Ryan on to tell this so other people know. Hey, just tell us once the grape, tell us the process now that you've got it planted until it gets to the bottle. I mean, and I know that's probably a long process, but just talk maybe big picture about how that works, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So luckily we have two other Texas vineyards where our Blanc du Bois grapes grow. So we'll continue to make wine throughout this whole process. So we have a vineyard up in Anderson, Texas, in Grimes County, that's farmed by a husband-wife team, two of our wine club members, John and Denise Bowden. And then we have a vineyard out in Burton where our friends at Saddlehorn Winery farm, that's named after our good friend and my fellow Rice grad, Galen Morgan. And so that's from Galen's vineyard. So those vineyards will continue to produce Blanc du Bois for our winemaking operations here in Houston, because this vineyard is not going to give us fruit that we can make wine from for 3 years. This year it will grow up, and we'll pinch off most of the flowers this year to encourage more growth. Next year, we'll get fruit that we could make wine from. We will choose not to. And then the third year, when we have what's called the third leaf, that is when you get fruit that is the quality that you want to use to make wine. So we're excited about that. But the point is, between now and then, we're going to have a beautiful vineyard. Even by this fall, this is going to be a fully grown vineyard for people to come out and see, and hopefully we'll do some agricultural education in the vineyard as well. We'll teach people about pruning. We'll teach people about what we do in the vineyard. which is very important, so that we understand that this is where our food comes from, and all of this work is what creates the food product that we love so much.
That is so well said, Ryan. And so, and that's where I would like to start the close here, is to talk, if you don't mind, just visit a little bit about what the grape wine industry in Texas and what that means to commerce and to agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, there were just a handful of wineries in Texas, and now there's over 500. I sit on the board of the Texas Wine and Grape Growers Association, and we are an industry group that promotes Texas wine and promotes Texas grape growing and Texas winemaking. And we are a big part of Texas agriculture, and we're continuing to grow. In fact, my very good friend, Maura Brady Sharp, who I went to law school with, is right now planting a vineyard just in the shadow of the Davis Mountains. And they're planting today out in West Texas. They're planting Cabernet Sauvignon out there. So all over the state, we're planting vineyards, we're growing grapes, and we're playing this really active part in our food chain. Because wine is food. It's part of our meals. It's what we have with dinner. It's what makes family gatherings so enjoyable. It is a food product as well.
Good deal. Hey, so do you have, before we got to start to close here, anything else you want to tell us?
I'd tell people drink local and support Texas wineries and support Texas agriculture. So we're really proud that our Texas Blanc product for the past 5 years has been 100% Texas grapes. We love to tell people that, and so they can support Texas wineries, Texas winemakers, help employ people here in Houston by buying Texas wine. And if you're looking for the wine, go directly to the winery. Whether you go on the website and buy from the winery, any of the wineries, either in the Hill Country or the High Plains or here in the Gulf Coast, support families. And it's a great way to give back and help build up our community. So before you go out and you buy some mass-produced bottle of wine off the store, at a grocery store, at a liquor store, take a moment, get to your computer, look for some Texas wineries. Doesn't have to be my winery, but if you're looking for our wines, we're at nicewines.com. But support a Texas family-owned winery. Buy wine from them. Let them ship it to you. You don't even have to leave the house. You can satisfy your stay-at-home orders and have wine delivered to you, and feel good about what you're doing.
How about a love and a like and all the hearts that you can do for Ryan's message to us today? What's so fun, and I was talking to Ryan before we started, was his background. He's from Houston. He went to Rice. And he's in the agricultural business, even though he may not have grown up in an agricultural business. And I think that says a lot about what we do at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo regarding education, agriculture, community. And so you kind of hit all the check marks for us. We're just so proud, Ryan, of what you're doing there. And I just do want to make sure, is your facility open for guests or not yet? Or okay.
Yeah, so our current winery, which is 1 mile from here, we're doing curbside contactless pickup. So while we can't allow people inside right now because of the quarantine orders, we are more than happy to deliver wine directly to your car. We have a courier that delivers wine all over the state. So go to nicewines.com, order some wine. We'll have it ready for you to be picked up. We put it directly in your trunk, or we'll deliver it to you. And most wineries around the state are doing that.
Yeah, and you're there to sign autographs, right? And actually load it.
Of course. If I'm not here at the new vineyard, I'm 1 mile away at our current winery studio. So come by and see us. I'd love to see everybody. Socially distanced, of course. I've got my mask just so I can wear it. But since I'm the only one out here in the vineyard, I don't have to have it on right now.
We're far enough apart, right? So
we are.
Hey, Ryan, thanks so much for joining us. Y'all, let's give Ryan a big round of applause. We'll be putting some notes into the messages as we do every week to learn more about our agricultural pieces. He's waving big for us. Man, what an awesome story. It's just so great to see it. One of the things that I say every week at the end of these is everybody that we talk to, and this is the career advice I have, and we'll continue down the path, is when you find people that really care about their work and they're driven by it and it becomes their purpose and what they're doing in life, it's not work, right? And Ryan, you look so, this is what you're about. Is that good advice?
It is. And never take an opportunity to enjoy life and to give back to the community. Look, I couldn't have gone to college if it weren't for this community helping me get there. And every day I see, how can I pay it forward for somebody else?
Right, right. Tell us one more time, who's holding the camera for you today?
So my fellow winemaker, Ian Eastfeld, is on the other side of the camera. He's also a Le Cordon Bleu graduate, and also studied to become a winemaker, and is also a sommelier. So we're both out here in the vineyard.
Good deal. With that, we'll wrap up. We want to thank Ian, the folks behind the camera. Right, Ian, thank you for doing that for us. Thanks everybody for being on and joining us today. Again, we'll thank Ryan Levy. What a tremendous story for the community. Congratulations on all you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, continue to practice distancing. Wash your hands. Do whatever the experts are telling us. We'll be back next week at 11 a.m. with a really cool topic. We hope that you will join us. With that being said, have a great rest of the week. One more round of applause for Ryan. Thanks so much, my friend, and we will see you very soon.